Hi chaps, we are back in the man cave of an acting teacher for another video. We're just facing a different direction today. The bookshelf is over there. My desk is behind me, okay? The reason for this is that I've started to actually do my one-to-one online classes in the man cave as opposed to elsewhere, right? Because I didn't think the Wi-Fi would be enough out here, but it is. It works really well and I've got decent light on me, so I've been doing my work out here. I've had 2 students this morning. And I've worked in the man cave. For those of you who've been working with me up until this point, I have actually been sitting cross-legged on my bed, which is lovely, but it's wrecking my memory foam mattress. And I didn't think I'd have the Wi-Fi out here, but I do. What are we talking about today? We are talking about Shakespeare, okay? Actors ask me about Shakespeare all the time, right? But I didn't particularly get a specific question today about it or anything like that. I literally just finished teaching a student just now who is working on 2 Shakespeare monologues with me in some ongoing guidance classes, okay? So I thought, like, while I'm on it, I'll just stick to it, okay? So why is Shakespeare such an issue for a lot of people, right? More than likely, if you don't like Shakespeare, what's probably happened is that you have had a bad experience of it at secondary school, usually with a teacher who didn't like it themselves. Maybe they were a bad teacher, or maybe they weren't a bad teacher. They just didn't like Shakespeare themselves, or were worried that you wouldn't like Shakespeare, and everybody together had a bit of a bad time, okay? And it's really put you off it, right? But you can rewind out of that pretty easily by understanding that Shakespeare is actually not difficult, okay? Now, that's easy for me to say, obviously. I've studied it all my life, but it actually isn't. There's some very simple things that I can tell you, and I will tell you now as best I can in this 10 minutes that hopefully will re-inspire you a little bit and inspire you to have another go at Shakespeare, okay? So, first of all, Shakespeare wasn't trying to be difficult. He wasn't trying to mess our heads up or annoy us with what he did by any means, okay? What he was actually trying to do was make it easier for us, and I'll explain to you why, all right? So, first of all, when Shakespeare puts words in the various different orders, he's taking the ordering of words from other languages as well. You have to remember that. So he was heavily influenced by Latin and heavily influenced by Old English and heavily influenced by ancient Greek text and the things that influenced him at the time, right? So if I said to you from like the Irish language, for example, if I said to Brón Urim, okay, if you know Irish, you will know that that means I'm sorry. Or does it? Okay, the direct translation would be more along the lines of there is sorrow on me. To Brón Urim, there is sorrow on me. Okay, so imagine taking that instead of I'm sorry and putting that in your piece of text for your play when you're writing a play. There is sorrow on me. It's a much more beautiful way of saying it, right? And it's simply been taken from the translation from another way of saying it. Yeah. Shakespeare did that a lot, right? And he did that in order to eke out meaning from the English language in ways that no one had before, really, not to his extent anyway, right? So just, if you can, put into your mind, okay, well, Shakespeare's using words in a different order to create layers of meaning, literal meaning, poetic meaning, sensory meaning, beauty, okay, profundity, poignancy in his work, and see if you can just open your mind up to playing with, oh yeah, he's saying I'm sorry, but he's saying it in the most amazing way. Let me explore that. Once you started to explore the way he says things, right, then you start to kind of enjoy that. You start to look for, well, how is he expressing I'm sorry this time? Or how is he expressing I'm going to kill you this time? Yeah? How is he saying that? Yeah? Okay, great. So that's the first thing, right? Second thing is, let's look at the text itself. The text itself is going to be either verse or prose, all right? Now, this is a general rule, all right? The verse will be in what we call iambic pentameter, which is 5 beats per line, okay? Not all the time, but most of the time, all right? And that goes like so. Now is the winter of our discontent made glorious summer by the son of York, okay? It's 5 beats per line, and it has a what we call a strong beat and a weak beat in it. Used to be called a male and female beat. We do not call it that anymore, right? I got in a lot of trouble for calling it a masculine and feminine beat some years ago, and I stopped, and rightly so, right? But think of the weak beat of now, okay? Now is the winter of our discontent, okay? Now is the winter of our discontent. Weak beat, strong beat. Why? Why is Shakespeare doing this with his stuff? Because this is the way we speak in life. We do this all the time, god damn it, man. Okay, I'm just being silly, right? But we often speak in 5 beats per line in life. It's Shakespeare's trying to make the most natural flowing language for his actors that he could. His actors were not trained actors, okay? So he's trying to make it as flowing as he can by using 5 beats in the line, yeah? We don't speak with 5 beats in a line every single time we speak, but we do it an awful lot. But we definitely go da-dun, 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 da-dun. We do that all the time when we speak as well. We go up and down and up and down and up in different ways, okay? Now, Shakespeare's scripts, if you have a look at the text, right, has punctuation in it. There's a theory that he didn't do this himself, right? But whoever did, if he didn't, is a genius. Try next time you're looking at a piece of text of Shakespeare to only breathe on the full stops and the colons. Okay, so when I say full stops and colons, I also mean exclamation marks and question marks, okay, and things like that. Ends of sentences, right? Where you see a comma or a semicolon, keep going. Don't breathe, just let it flow. And if you can do that, you get this beautiful flow to the language, yeah? Now is the winter of our discontent made glorious summer by this son of York, breath, and all the clouds that lowered upon our house in the deep bosom of the ocean buried, breath. Now are our brows crowned with victorious wreaths, and on, right? Okay, I won't go on. Okay? Try to only breathe where you get a full stop or a colon, right? This is why voice training is actually quite handy to have in your actor training, right? So if you do an acting course, make sure that it has a little bit of voice training in it because you will need it for this sort of stuff. But you can train yourself to do it as well. You can certainly practice it that way. If you don't do that, if you decide to breathe in between, now is the winter of our discontent, made glorious summer by the son of York. It not only does it make me hyperventilate, it also breaks up the beautiful, fully contained meaning of a single phrase. Okay, so try that for yourself and play around with that. Okay. Consider that Shakespeare put everything that you need already in the text. You just need to know how to get it out. All right. So not only did he do that, you'll notice that there is this language that annoys people like thy and thou and things like that and wherefore and all that sort of stuff. But thy and thou in particular. Why is he doing that? Why doesn't he just say you and I? He does. Have a look at where he does and where he doesn't. The thys and the thous will usually be spoken by a high class or upper class character. A king, a queen, nobility, okay? Or possibly something extra human, right? Like a spirit or a fairy or a god of some sort, okay? Where I and you are used, usually it's the lower class characters. Usually the higher class characters are speaking in iambic pentameter, okay, which is the verse, all right? And the lower class characters mostly, but not all the time, but often, quite often, will use prose, which is where there is no iambic pentameter. Just like reading a novel, right? It's just a flow of words, okay, with no particular meter or beat, okay? So Shakespeare is actually telling you about your character. Not only that, he's telling you often what your character is thinking or feeling, all right? Because remember, Shakespeare was an actor himself, okay? So he's trying to help you, yeah? So if you have a character that's upper class and suddenly they're speaking in prose rather than verse, perhaps they're talking to a lower class character. Perhaps they're talking to a lower class character that they don't want to know that they're upper class. Maybe they're in disguise, yeah? If they start speaking they lose their thys and their thys and their thous and start saying you and I instead, it could well be that they're losing their mind, right? That they're going insane. It could also be that perhaps they are becoming incredibly emotional, right, and incredibly upset by something, and their highfalutin, if you want to call it that, just for fun's sake, way of speaking is starting to disintegrate. It's starting to come apart on them. Yeah. So have a look at where those things are. Yeah. He doesn't put in pause, beat, silence the way modern writers need to. It's all in the text. So if you have a line of iambic pentameter and another character. So one character says ba-bum, 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 ba-bum. The next character goes ba-bum, 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 and this character then goes ba-bum, 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 ba-bum. Okay? 3 beats for this character, 2 beats for this. All right? This character finishes the 5 beats that this character started with their 3. Shakespeare's saying to you, don't pause. Okay? Let that flow right through. Make that almost an interruption, yeah? So where a modern writer would need to write that in or indicate that that's what they want with a dash or an oblique of some sort, Shakespeare actually does it using the iambic pentameter. He was an incredibly clever guy, all right? And this stuff is all there for you to play with, and it's actually not that hard, and it's actually incredibly fun once you know a few basic clues and basic rules about the way that Shakespeare formed his words and formed his language. Get into it. You might as well. It's great crack, all right? Now, that's a 10-minute. It's not even an overview. Like, that's nothing. Like, there's so much more to discover. I have a friend in Australia who's a Shakespeare scholar, and this guy knows where every word came from, what folio, what quarto, whatever it is. Ah, man, he knows a hell of a lot more about it than I ever will, right? But you don't need to know that much, okay? But as an actor, you do need to know what Shakespeare is giving you to play with. He's actually handing you tons of really cool clues, and any good acting teacher will be able to teach you those things because they will have trained in it themselves and learnt it at university and hopefully been taught how to pass it on to you as well, okay? Because teaching is an art unto itself that's not easy either, right? Look, I won't go on because I'm over my 10 minutes, and I always go for 11, 12, 14 or whatever. So yeah, I just thought I would go into Shakespeare while it was fresh in my mind after working with my friend Frank, who is working on a King Lear, and also a Falstaff from Henry IV Part 1. I think it's Part 1, or is it Part 2? Part 1. If you would like to do some of that with me, please do. I am available to you online. We can do this by Skype or Zoom or whatever else. Don't forget your self-employed friends out there as well. If you have the means and if you have the time, go and do a class. It's a good way to keep yourself busy, right? And I'm really glad again that you're enjoying these videos and taking 10 or 12 minutes a day to, just think about your craft. Just think about your craft for a little while and consider it, yeah? That's a good way to distract yourself from COVID-19 as well, okay? Okay, look, you know where to find me, guys. Anytime you have a question, I'm happy to answer them. And I will give you another video tomorrow. I'll see you later. Thanks, bye.